Mr. Cornell Chico Conaway, come on up.
Okay, hello, everyone. Hopefully I do this well. This is my first time moderating a fireside chat, but I get this awesome person here.
That's right. Oh, it does work. Okay.
So as she said, my name is Sandra Smith. I am a patent training advisor at the Patent and Trademark Office, which means nothing except to people who work at the Patent and Trademark Office. So let's just say I was a patent examiner, supervisor of patent examiners, and so I have some experience with the patent process. So I want to thank you, Chico, for being here.
No problem. I appreciate the
Representing
opportunity.
Oregon
Thank
State. I do appreciate that. So before we
Absolutely.
get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and
Okay.
your journey?
All right. Chico Conaway. The government name from 12 to 5 is Cornell Conaway, but all my friends call me Chico. I am the owner of Gain Sports Gear. Gain Sports Gear is a fitness brand. We make knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, wrist wraps. We actually have a design patent for our workout grips called the Load and Lock grips. That was actually the first product that we hit the market with. And because I am an HBCU alum, I went to the University. Just letting y'all know. Just letting y'all know. Okay, that's what I'm saying. We have that like that's what's here now. All right. So I attended Bowie State University. And the first thing that we did was we wanted to make sure that we did something in fitness that actually spoke to the HBCU community, and that's when we did the HBCU wrap. And moving forward, now we have 12 different licensing for 12 different HBCUs. Morgan being one of the colleges that we have the license for. So I had to wear the Morgan State crew neck that we dropped. That sold out in 24 hours. So y'all, I love y'all. I love y'all. So that's a little bit about me from Baltimore, and I appreciate the opportunity.
We're going to get into that licensing in a little bit.
All right.
But first, let's talk about the United States Patent and Trademark Office, right? So you have a design patent, which I actually looked up. I found it. So you have a
Good.
design patent.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your processes, like the good
Yes.
and the bad? I mean,
Okay.
good, because the patent office is awesome.
True. Yes, the patent office. Kevin, well, no problem for y'all. Okay, so when I started the company, I loved to work out, and I felt that the workout grips that were on the market were inefficiently made and actually expensive. So I got with a manufacturer overseas. Manufacturing is a whole nother topic that we can discuss later. When I got with the manufacturer, I created my own design. And what I did was, once I got the prototype, I took that to the gyms and I said, hey, twerk this, do that. And that's when I finally sent my application in. I had to get with a company to make the illustrations to send it in as well. You can't just send in, a patent without, the correct drawings for the patent office to review. So a lot of folks might not know the difference between the design and the utility patent. I have a design patent, so I wanted to protect my design of my workout grip. I didn't go for the utility patent. Utility is actually how it works. Didn't go for that. I mean, the patents are expensive. So that's probably the best part is having it, but patents are definitely, in my opinion, a lot more expensive than you're dealing with regular trademarks, but I'm glad that I have it.
Okay.
Hmm.
I will just say that
Hmm.
a patent will protect your invention. Okay, it's a little pricey on the front end, but they can protect your invention. At what point did you realize you had something good?
Okay, all right. So when I finally got my design patent, I remember taking it to the gyms, and a lot of the guys that were there, the older guys, they said, you know what? I remember when Kevin Plank. Anybody know who Kevin Plank is? The owner of Under Armour. I remember he would say to me, man, I remember when Kevin Plank used to bring his T-shirts around and have us try it. The ones on the tech side that that basically for the heat gear. Did that, and now you're doing the same thing. So that actually inspired me. And then when the gyms actually started carrying our Load and Lock grips, and our product was on the same shelf as Under Armour, that really inspired me. And plus, of course, all the good reviews that we were getting from the female and male lifters. So that made me push on with the grips and also add on to the product line.
Let me take a small step back. So
Okay.
who did you look to for support to like push you forward in this?
Okay, well, you know what? That actually was my wife. So she actually pushed me because in sales. Maybe, let's take a step back. You're right. So I've been in sales for over 20 years. I'm actually a pharmaceutical rep, right? So I've been doing sales since I came out of college, out of Bowie State University. And, the product that I sell makes the company millions and millions of dollars, right? So I decided, well, you know what? I have to come out with a product that could possibly maybe make me millions and millions of dollars. So that really was the incentive of me starting the journey. And so, she was like, listen, look, you have the charisma to go out and talk, and, you have a good product, stand early and see where it goes. So that was the inspiration. Did I go back far enough? Am I good?
I think
All
you
right,
go back
okay.
far. That's good.
We partners in this. We partners.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
So we're going to get into some marketing and some other things to help the small business owner and the entrepreneur. But before we get that, we have to talk about your trademark journey, because that was a different story from what
Right.
I heard. So can
Right.
you kind of
Okay.
let us- just the ups and downs? And again, the patent office is awesome. He's going to tell you that.
And also, it was, I will say this. When I speak to a lot of up and coming entrepreneurs, they think that because they have an LLC, they have a trademark. All right. So, and I think that's the number one pitfall that a lot of our folks, kind of fall into. My brand's protected. I got an LLC. That don't mean nothing. So if it's not with this company, if it's not with the office, it's not protected. So I guess the first thing that I did wrong was I put the cart before the horse. So if you can learn anything from my journey, because I knew the product that I wanted to come out with, I really didn't have the name of the company that I wanted to call the company. I just knew I was so focused on the product, right? And the paperwork with the patent. So I called the company Gain Sports Gear, but by then I'm already rolling. Like, I already had my business page on Instagram, we're already starting to buy the product. So when I went and I filed for Gain Sports Gear, that's where I got, hit in the face with, listen, you are actually likelihood of confusion with another company. So what I say with this, when you have trademarks, and I'm not an expert in speaking on my journey. When you have trademarks, there's different classifications that you can file for, right? So everybody that has a apparel line, right, that would be under classification 25 because you're trying to do apparel, right? Now, at the time, my classification that I was doing was classification 28, which was for like good sporting goods and services. So I had Gains, Gainz sports gear under classification 28. The office came back to me and said, well, there's another company that has Gains, Gainz, for classification 25, and there might be a likelihood of confusion. And when I tell you, my heart I was like, come on, man, I need this. I actually called the patent office. She's like, I can't talk to you. You have a lawyer. Don't talk to me. So that's another thing. When you file your trademark, if you have a lawyer filing your paperwork, they don't speak to you. They speak to the lawyer that's actually handling the paperwork. If you do it yourself, then you can speak to them. So that's just a gem that hopefully you guys catch, because I had to learn that the hard way. So the moral of the story is that make sure that your paperwork is right first before you go down the journey, because you don't want it to come back and bite you. Learn my lesson, because that's when HBCU athlete, I made sure that I protected that, but I'll let you lead the questions. All right.
So did you use an attorney when you filed the design patent?
For the design patent, I did use an attorney. That's a good question. Let's talk about that. So choosing for a patent, I definitely recommend using a patent attorney, a trademark attorney, because it's just so much legal mumbo jumbo that'll come your way. And if you didn't go to school for that, you're just gonna be set yourself up for failure, honestly. So yes, for the patent, definitely use a lawyer. Now, here's the thing. Just because, you have a lawyer that might be a frat brother or a sorority sister or a cousin, or, that you have a lawyer that might be a criminal lawyer, or, that doesn't automatically mean that, they can help you get your application through. It's a very specific, type of education that goes into the trademark service. So I actually had someone that was working my patent, and unfortunately, he was not focused on the paperwork that came in for the office, and because of that, the patent went into abandonment. Right, so you can like speak to what abandonment means, but basically, it almost was like the application was almost like terminated. He had to pay extra money to basically get it back reissued, reinstated. So needless to say, I fired him, and I ended up getting another lawyer to make sure that I was on the right path. So long story short, just make sure you do your due diligence when you're picking a trademark or patent lawyer, because it's your baby. It's your baby. So you want to make sure that they are going to treat your baby as if, you know, you would. That sound about right?
It's your baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to give you advice, but I'm gonna tell you,
Yes, ma'am.
it's your baby.
Definitely your baby.
Protect your baby.
Definitely your baby.
So let's talk about the marketing. So
Okay.
when you developed this product, right? So you have product in hand when you were marketing. Did you just have like, I know what I want to do? How did you go about starting the marketing
Mhm.
and then actually getting into actual development?
I had product in hand. So once I got the prototype in, that's when I went around and visited all the stores, gyms, and made sure that, you know, I wanted to see what type of reviews that I was getting for the low light grips, as well as for the marketing. When it gets to like the HBCU side, that's where I actually kind of tapped into the social media. I have a pretty good following on my social media pages. I had the trademarks for HBCU athlete, and I got this before Dion was, you know, I mean, I just want to let y'all know that. So, like I said, HBCU athlete, when we came out with the wrist wraps, I wanted to make sure that I came out with a fitness, something fitness accessory that spoke to our community, the HBCU community. So from the wrist wraps, that's when we came out with the HBCU athlete line. And I started making sure that I tapped into, like Dion, he wore our HBCU athlete hoodie. If you guys are familiar with the podcast called The Pivoting I Am Athlete. A lot of the guys on there wore it. And that's like free advertisement. It didn't cost me anything, but basically to send it to them. So that's the route that I really am trying to go versus somebody, no disrespect to any of the influencers, but sometimes the influencers, because it's a roll of dice. When you see your product out off the folks for marketing, sometimes they might get it, might not even post it, right? And it costs you to make it, it costs you to send it, and that's when we were feeling this, because you're like, well, come on, man, I sent you the stuff. What are you going to do? So for marketing, I mean, that's really what I did. I really strategically decided who I was going to send my items to and followed up, right? Luckily, you know, I was able to get ROI. That's the biggest thing, is making sure that you get ROI when you're sending stuff out to folks for your marketing. Because if not, you're just spending marketing dollars for nothing, honestly.
Okay, for those of us who are scientists and not marketing people,
Return on investment.
there you go. Okay.
Return on investment. Yep.
So let's talk about the licensing portion, because I'm going to blend everything together with this.
You're doing a great job, by the way. I just want to let you know that. So from the HBCU athlete side, like I said, when Dion and Fred Taylor and Ed Reed was wearing some of my stuff, I had a lot of folks in my comment section saying, well, when you get my school, right? So I said, all right, okay, I got to find out how to get licensing. So the first, of course, I had to make sure I took care of my yard first, which was Bowie State, right? So I said, okay, Bowie State is going to be a test to see if if folks really support each other. I'm going to see. You can say whatever you want online, right? Or you see me in person, you know, folks, a good game, but we'll see if they really support. So once we drop the HBCU crew neck, I had to drop it twice because it sold out so fast, right? And because I'm a Baltimore guy, I said, all right, I know I have to get Morgan. You know, I'm an alpha, so I had to make sure that, I made sure that I took care of the bros that were on the yard. That's one of my frat brothers right there, so that's filming me. So I had to make sure that he was good. So now I'm happy to say that we now have 12 different licenses for 12 different HBCUs. We just got Claflin yesterday. That was our 12th. So we very happy about that. I'll say this. I'm glad I wore the shirt today because this is the goal. Look at Morgan State University. Morgan State University has the licensing or the trademark for Morgan State Bears, Bear here, as well as, right? So to pay a licensing fee to the Morgan State University to be able to use this on apparel. That's the first thing. And on top of that, have to pay the royalties, 12% for each one that we sell. So imagine you having a patent or a trademark, and then you do a licensing deal with someone, that's like making money in your sleep. So the goal is to be like Morgan State University. Am I too loud?
Okay. There's too much reverb. Okay.
My bad. Is this good? Is this good right here? Okay, I apologize. Just my first time. I'm sorry.
I don't know where our time is, so I can just keep talking to you.
So we're good to go.
No one told me I had to stop.
Mhm.
So now, and throughout this whole journey, I have all these questions here. I didn't ask any of them.
Yeah.
Throughout this whole journey, right?
Mhm.
What would you say was the hardest part of this journey? Like you got your idea, you have your patent, you get your trademark, you're doing your marketing, boots to the ground, talking to gyms. Where would you say was the hardest thing and the thing where you were like, okay, maybe I need to go back and do pharmaceutical sales and let this go?
I'm still doing that. And you know what? I'm glad you said it. Like my thing is, like hardest part, are you saying just with entrepreneurship period or just?
Your whole journey, because you had
I think the hardest part with just entrepreneurship, I think, is just learning the hard lesson of it's never personal. It's always business, right? I'll give you an example. One of the gyms that I really was targeting, they picked up our product line. We basically were able to get our wrist wraps in and, basically our entire fitness side, right? And I wanted to do something special for that gym. So I did custom wrist wraps with their name on it. But my manufacturer, a lot of times if anybody does manufacturing overseas or just have someone else creating their product, a lot of times, unfortunately, we are, not guilty, but sometimes, it's up to the manufacturer to make sure that, our stuff is correct. And a lot of times if something comes over wrong, it's not them that has to face the music, it's us, right?
Can I interrupt
So,
just a
yeah.
second with this? So when you're talking about this, talk about the quality control aspect.
Yes. So quality control, that's why for my company, I never do pre-orders. I never do pre-orders because a lot of times when companies do pre-orders, they're taking your money, right? Basically to fund their project or to fund the inventory that's coming in, right? And if you're doing something, if you have a manufacturer overseas, you have to make sure that you do a quality control check to make sure that all items are correct, especially if you have licensing, right? Because if any colors are off, right? If anything is off, I can't sell the item, right? So you have to make sure that each time that something comes in, you check it to make sure it's good enough to be sold. But getting back to the gym, the wrist wraps that my manufacturer brought over was sent to me that I designed, put the wrong Velcro on. So you have folks lifting, these power lifters lifting 400, 500 pound, deadlifts, and then the wrist wraps just unraveling, right? So he kicked me out of the gym. He's like, man, I can't have that. And when I tell you I was in my feelings, Lord have mercy, I was in my feelings because it was my home gym and he brought another brand in, right? A bigger brand. So I had to walk past that brand. But I'm gonna tell you what it taught me. It taught me to, first of all, not stick with that same manufacturer because my thing was I got used to them, right? And I didn't want to continue, dealing with that. So I ended up getting a better manufacturer, so I didn't have that issue anymore. So quality control is very important.
So just because I'm at the Patent and Trademark Office and
Yeah.
I do want to have just a couple minutes to talk about, for you to talk about if you use any resources with, I know you had an attorney.
Yeah, I
But
did.
did you use any PTO resources or there was a time you were like, I need to PTO resources?
The resource that I use the most is your search to make sure that I use to search all the time. It's like, so I just filed for We Create Culture. So I saw it's not on there, so I need y'all to go ahead and prove that. But yeah, so that's what I do. So whenever I have something that I want to get trademarked, I mean, you can use some of these third-party companies like Trademark Engine or LegalZoom. They also have searches, right? But I like to go to the source. I like to go straight. If it's not on there, then I say, okay, I got a chance. I have a chance. So that's the main resource that I use, honestly, is a search.
We only have a couple minutes, so for all of the people here who may be small business owners or inventors, entrepreneurs, up and coming, what would you give? Some final advice?
The final advice, I think, if whoever hasn't started, just go ahead and start, right? The biggest thing is that, we kind of get caught up in, are the customers going to like it, right? My biggest thing is if you ever get a chance, watch on YouTube. Steve Harvey has this great video called Jump, right? That's really what I watch to really get me inspired, because it's a great analogy about how when you jump off the cliff, you're basically going to hit all these bumpy rocks, because entrepreneurship it's cyclical. It's ups and downs, and you just got to be able to ride the wave. But the first thing, you can't get in the game if you don't get off the bench. So that's the main thing, is just believe in yourself, and you're gonna have a lot of haters out there. I'm telling y'all, you have a lot of haters out there. Most importantly, I'll leave you with this. Don't expect your day ones, your friends and your family to always give you the support. I have more folks that I have no idea who they are, that consistently buy from me. And I had to learn not to get mad when they don't buy, because somebody else will. So if that makes sense. Is that good?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
All
All right.
Thank you very much.